Well, if we think of the theme of level one work being quality, as I said a moment ago, the reason for that word is to convey an essence of the profound importance of that work, and the that it's almost, no, I suppose, I mean, people have written about quality for thousands of years, but it still retains a slight element of mystery to it, I think. And that was one of the things that we were wanting to convey, partly out of the respect point, but also because it is the grounding, even if much of that work may now be done in other ways and not necessarily by people, but it does remain the grounding of the financial and the reputational viability of an organisation. And so its work is essentially, the nature of the work is that it could be clearly specified beforehand, although, and again, this is one of the vulnerabilities of the work, that others assume that because it can be tightly specified or clearly specified beforehand, it doesn't require judgment. But you only have to either be with people or watch people who are doing that work of level one to see that they are all the time making tiny judgments, whether it's judgments about the pace of how they do something or whether or not they pay attention to what's going on. And you see it in service industries much more now than you do in engineering and whatever. And you see the huge difference both for the person doing the work and the person receiving that work. I'm thinking of the service industry here, when that work is only done as required. You will now take this cup and you will place it on the table. The difference of the experience for both parties, both the customer and the person, when that is done with some awareness that, I don't know, the cup may be too near the edge of the table, or the person has a newspaper or an iPad or whatever on the table, and it's so the cup is just moved a couple of centimetres, which makes all the difference to the. And you can see, if you watch people in coffee houses or wherever, you can see the difference, the nature of the exchange between them, even though the exchange may be minimal, it may be hardly verbal at all, when there is that exercise of judgment. So that really is. It also has, does it always? I think often it does, because a lot of this work now, I'm thinking beyond the engineering work, is not only in service industries but in caring industry, or not in the caring profession. So again, that comes back to, does the hospital porter just grab the stretcher or the trolley or whatever and dash down the corridor? And sometimes, yes, they do, because it is difficult for them. They're very tight. Their roles are very tightly targeted. They're expected to get from the ward to the X-ray or whatever within 15 minutes. I mean, literally, some of the work in the NHS is like that now. But the difference when that porter makes sure, or does his or her very best to make sure that the stretcher does, or the trolley doesn't jolt and doesn't knock against the side of the lift door, and you just watch people being very careful that that doesn't happen. So there's a great deal. I hadn't really thought so much about it before, but there's a huge amount of care and consideration that goes into that level one work in caring and service industries. And I suppose if you think about it again in engineering, it would have gone into the nature of the process, the pace of the process, those kind of things. And as I said, the vulnerability, and this is where, I mean, a number of links, but probably one of the most important links to level two is the awareness of the managers, the supervisors, whoever they are at level two, that to appreciate the judgment that is being exercised, and to allow, as someone once said to me long ago, actually someone who was literally working on an assembly line, and they said, all I ask is to be treated as a human being, which is just such a lovely phrase. And that is essentially about, this person was being very careful. They were literally checking on biscuits as they went by on an, so the mere idea of how they could be treated as a human being, and the fact they'd retained that and that they felt it was happening is just interesting and significant in itself.